Hello, friends. Thank you so much for tuning into this mini training. We will be talking about the nature versus nurture debate as it specifically pertains to behavioral problems in dogs. So behavioral problems being anxiety-related issues, reactivity, aggression, etc., separation anxiety, all that good stuff. And as always, I'm flipping between two cameras. So if you see me jump up and down, that's what's going on there. But I really recommend that I want to sort of reframe how we think of the it's all in how you train them conversation. And if this lesson is for a couple of people. It's first for the dog guardians who continue to blame themselves for their dog's behavioral problems. And it's for people who have relatives who are blaming them for their dog's behavioral problems. So perhaps you don't necessarily blame yourself for the way your dog behaves, but perhaps you have friends or family that ridicule you. This video is what I want you to share with them, because I'm going to break down what dynamics actually come into play when we're talking about causes for behavioral problems and how much of it is actually not at all within the dog guardian's power. And there are actually three main factors that I when I was journaling came up with this. Three main factors that I want to break down and kind of explain in human terms why a dog might demonstrate reactivity, aggression, separation anxiety, behavioral problems, stereotypies, whatever. Okay. The first being ethology and thousands of years of breeding dogs for these very specific behavioral problems that we have. If you have a guardian breed and they have human stranger danger or dog stranger danger, and they're not welcoming to strangers into their unit, they were bred and designed that way. If you have a guardian breed, their job is to say, you're not welcome here. Don't you be testing things. These are my resources. These are my units. You are not welcome here. Thousands and thousands of years have told them to be that way. If you have a dog that is particularly a small breed or a quote unquote companion breed dealing with separation anxiety, you have thousands and thousands and thousands of years in that dog's DNA telling them that they are supposed to be hyper attached to their human. And, you know, it's not to say that these other dogs that perhaps aren't necessarily companion breeds can't have separation anxiety, because of course they can, which I'll talk about in a second, why that is. But at the very least, if you have a dog, whether it's a small breed or not, most companion breeds are small breeds, okay? But even if it's not a small breed, if you have a dog who was built to work side by side with their human, day in, day out, unwavering compassion and love and attachment, and that was what they were bred to do, to help their human survive in the world. Oh my gosh, the idea of not doing that, the idea of staying home and not going out with their human to work goes completely 100% against what their genetics tells them to do. Even if it's a matter of a Labrador, even if it's a matter of a pointer. These dogs were designed to work right by their human, not to be left at home for 8 hours in the backyard. That's not what they were designed for. So when we're thinking about, oh, you're causing separation anxiety in your dog, don't be thinking the human for causing that separation anxiety. You have your ancestors from some, anywhere from 5,000 to 14,000 years ago to thank. They're who you want to call and say, hey, thanks for giving my niece or my daughter or my cousin's dog separation anxiety. Really appreciate it. Don't be blaming the guardian. The other factor that comes into play is something called epigenetics. And epigenetics is this really cool phenomenon, which basically says that for all intents and purposes, I'm highly summarizing, that basically says that a significant event, let's say trauma, a significant event can decode an individual's DNA to make them better equipped to handle that event again in the future. And not just to help them handle that event in the future, but to help their offspring handle that event in the future. So if a dog is demonstrating, say, aggression, when they're not actually a guardian breed, they're not actually they're not really designed for aggression. They're actually maybe it's like a golden retriever, and they are in theory built to be the most sociable animal on the planet, and everybody is their best friend. But this dog is demonstrating stranger danger aggression. That very well could be as a result of epigenetics. Perhaps someone in that, another dog in that dog's bloodline had a traumatic event that told them and their offspring, people are bad. And this happens more often than we think. This event where we are accidentally teaching dogs that are, for all intents and purposes, not supposed to demonstrate aggression, because they're bred to be sociable and amenable and very easygoing and juvenile. We're for all intents and purposes, this individual is supposed to behave this way, but yet some event that happened 10, 20 years ago in that dog's bloodline has caused a ripple in their DNA that says, actually, you're going to be afraid of people now because I had a traumatic enough event and I need to be aware that people are bad. I don't know, right? So again, even if you have an individual who is not designed for separation anxiety, that doesn't mean that they can't have separation anxiety from a genetic component. And there absolutely is a lot of data that indicates and suggests that separation anxiety is genetic based. No, it's not fact. No, we don't factually know what the cause is for separation anxiety in dogs. But all theories point towards genetics. So again, not something we should be blaming the guardian for. But let's say genetics has nothing to do with it. Epigenetics has nothing to do with it. Let's talk about step 3. Step 3 is the fact that 60% of the dog's identity is determined at conception. That's genetics. And then about 20 to 30% to 35% of that dog's identity is determined in the next 16 weeks, the first 16 weeks of that dog's life. If they're lucky, most of it's determined in the first 12. In the first 12 weeks, a significant amount of learning experience is happening, which is influencing how that dog is going to perceive the world for the next 15 years of his life. Most people don't have their dogs from the day that they enter the universe. Most people get their dogs well after 16 weeks, but even if they don't, maybe they get that dog as a puppy. Most people get their puppy at 8 or 9 weeks. So there's a whole 8 or 9 week span that is completely out of their power. And when we're talking about only getting 12, a good chunk of that, they don't even have the opportunity to save. It's already occurred. What's done is done. So when we're talking about life experiences, it's not a matter of, oh, they have 15 years of life experience and it is what it is. What we're talking about is they get 12, if they're lucky, 16 weeks to really shape that dog's personality the way they want it to be. To give that dog the exposure and the critical thinking skills and the confidence to be able to engage with foreign stimuli safely, comfortably. And so if right now you or your family member who's judging you knows that you didn't get your dog until 6 months old, at 2 years old, 4 years old, then we all need to appreciate that 90 to 95% of your dog's identity was determined in the first 16 weeks of that dog's life, and you had absolutely no say in what happened. You had absolutely no say in the outcome of that 16-week opportunity. And so again, that's just one more thing that wasn't within your power. And so now you have these behavioral problems and you're trying to recover your dog's perception of the world. You're trying to recover your dog's mental health. You're trying to undo what 90% of their identity to 95% of their identity is telling them to be. And so you're out there training consistently, dedicated, committed to helping your dog month after month after month after month after month. And the thing that no trainer tells you is the deck is stacked against you by a lot. Everything in your dog's life is trying to make you fail at recovering their mental health. Everything in your dog's life, particularly the first 16 weeks, is trying to make it so that you can't get away from your dog, so that you can't leave your dog alone for 8 hours and go to work. Everything about your dog's genetics are making it so that your dog doesn't change his mind about that trigger, that he does identify it as a threat. The deck is stacked against you. The odds are not in your favor, ever. And I know that's depressing. And so I don't think a lot of trainers really address that, because we don't want to be like Debbie Downer in the room. But I say this because I think so often we want to say that the owners, the guardians, are at fault, that they are the naive ones, that they are the idiots, that they are doing the wrong thing, that they just need to leave their dog alone, that they just need to, just get the dog in front of another dog and let him settle it and they'll figure it out. But everything is working against you to make that happen. And I think we need to appreciate that a little bit more. We need to appreciate that you are fighting a very hard battle. And I don't say this to depress everyone, even though I know we're wrapping up on a low here. And I really should have come up with a better high to end it on. If there's a high, the high is that learning is always available. Learning is always available to your dog for life. And even if the deck is stacked against you, learning is always available. And you are within absolute power to make it out of the end on this, right? You absolutely can recover your dog's perception, regardless of the fact that his genetics don't want you to, regardless of the fact that his life experiences in the first 12 weeks were completely out of your power, are stacked against you. Regardless of all that, you can still do it. Stay the course. Learning is possible. And if you are a guardian, if you are a friend or family member of a guardian with a dog like this, I hope that this discussion really reframes how we're viewing the effort and hard work that your friend is putting into their dog. So I hope this resonates with you. If it did, tell me in the comments. Tell me what your takeaway was. Tell me what really made you feel good, made you feel bad. I don't know. Tell me what your thoughts are, what feelings came up for you when you were listening to this. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful day.